everyone, so today I have my updated 2012 bookshelf tour for you. So I decided to do a bookshelf tour at the end of the year to kind of show you where all the books that I got in 2012 had ended up. So if there's any books that you saw in a book haul or something and you're not sure what ended up happening with it, like if I read it or not, then I suppose you can find out, because I have separated my TBR shelf and my red shelf. So I do have quite a few shelves to get through, and a lot more than I did last time I did my bookshelf tour, because I've got a lot more books since then and I had to make space in other places in my room to accommodate those books. But first, before I get started with the other shelves, I'm just going to show you this one here. You probably know it is my book haul shelf, I suppose. As I buy books throughout the month, I pop them up there, then I show them to you in a book haul, then I put them away in my TBR shelf or the red shelf. So yes, I'm not going to go into detail on what those ones are because I don't really want to spoil you for this month's book haul, but yes, that's there. Anyway, enough with me talking, you want to see my bookshelves. So I'm going to get started with my TBR shelf. So this here is the entirety of the main TBR shelf. As you can see, we do have A Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. This is supposed to be on the other TBR shelf with the sequels, but I use that book to kind of hold up my camera when I'm filming. So I'm just going to get started on the top shelf there. So this here is the first row in the top shelf. We have Life as We Knew It by Susan Beth Pepper, 1984 by George Orwell, The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman, The Lux by Anna Godfreyson, The Industry by Rose Foster, Every Day by David Levithan, Slated by Terry Terry, The Duff by Cody Keplinger, The Snow Child by Eowyn Ivey, Ink Exchange by Melissa Marr, The Repossession by Sam Hawksmoor, All These Things I've Done by Gabrielle Zevin. Next we have Poison Princess by Cresley Cole, The Dark and the Key by Marianne Curley, A Great and Terrible Beauty by Libba Bray. Then we have the Poison Study series by Maria V. Snyder, Poison Study, Magic Study and Fire Study. This is just in a box set. And finally we have Les Miserables by Victor Hugo. And here we are on the back row of the first shelf. We have Tempest by Julie Cross, Ebeneath by Brodie Ashton, Miss Fortune Cookie by Lauren Bjorkman, Legend by Marie Lu, The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater, The Invention of Hugo Cabret by Brian Selznick, Sweetly by Jackson Pierce, Tree of Crows by Jonathan Safran Foer, Damned by Chuck Palahniuk, The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, and The Land of Stories, The Wishing Spell by Chris Colfer. And on this last half, we first have the box set of the Beautiful Creatures series, Beautiful Creatures, Beautiful Darkness, Beautiful Chaos, Beautiful Redemption by Cami Garcia and Margaret Stoll. Then we have Purgatory Rain by Ellen Preston, Bloodlines by Rochelle Mead, House of Leaves by Mark Z. Dalanowski, Graveminder by Melissa Marr, The Paladin Prophecy by Mark Frost, Fateful by Claudia Gray, horrible glare on that one. Then we have, what is it? Oh, I have it upside down. Ghost Stories of M.R. James. I'm not going to take it out because it's kind of difficult to do that. And lastly, The Red Queen by Philippa Gregory. Now onto the second shelf of the TBR shelves. We have The Replacement by Brenna Yovanoff, Bleeding Violet by Di Reeves, Even Adam by Michael Grant and Catherine Applegate, Unwind by Neil Schusterman, Dream Hunter and Dream Quake by Elizabeth Knox, Gone by Lisa McMahon, The Element Encyclopedia of Ghosts and Hauntings by Teresa Chung, The Name of the Star by Maureen Johnson, Fragile Eternity by Melissa Marr, Enclave by Anne Aguirre, Radiant Shadows by Melissa Marr, and Meridian by Amber Kaiser. Then we have Awaken by Katie Kakvinsky, The Monstrumologist by Rick Yancey, Eon by Alison Goodman, This Lullaby by Sarah Dessen, Life of Pi by Jan Martel, The Ask and the Answer by Patrick Ness, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children by Ransom Riggs, Winnie the Pooh, 80th Anniversary Edition by A.A. Milne, and A Curse Dark as Gold by Elizabeth C. Bunce. And now on to our last few here. We have Seraphina by Rachel Hartman, Mr. Penumbra's 24-Hour Bookstore by Robin Sloan, Scarlet by A.C. Gorgon, The Scorpio Racins by Maggie Stiefvater, and Mystic City by Theo Lawrence. So here we are on the bottom shelf of, well, the TBR shelves, and we have Insignia by S.J. Kincaid, Switched by Amanda Hocking, Darkest Mercy by Melissa Marr, Partials by Dan Wells, Drink Slay Love by Sarah Beth Durst, The Legacy of Trill series Soulbound by Heather Brewer, Glow by Amy Kathleen Bryan, The Messenger by Marcus Zuzak, Rules of Attraction by Simone Alcalez, and Need by Carrie Jones. Looking for Ali Branty by Melina Marchetta, The Girl in the... Whoop, stuck, oh no! Oh god, okay, that's not good. The Girl in the Steel Corset by Katie Cross, Before I Fall by Lauren Oliver, Tithe by Holly Black, Unraveling by Elizabeth Norris, Captivate by Carrie Jones, The 11th Orphan by Joan Lingard, Alice in Zombieland by Gina Showalter, Saving June by Hannah Harrington, The Named by Marianne Curley, and The Selection by Kira Cass. Okay, now just moving on to the last ones here. We have Perfect Chemistry by Simone Alcalez, Tiger's Curse, and Tiger's Quest by Colleen Hook, The Selected Works of Edgar Allan Poe, Knowin' Me by Delphine de Vigan, The Vanishing Game by Kate K. Myers, and lastly we have Gravity by Melissa West. So this here is another one of my TBR shelves. It's got a kind of mix of things. First we have my sequels to books that I have read, and then here is a mix of classics as well as books that I bought several years ago that I'm not really sure if I'm ever going to finish. And I also have some various little ornaments and things. We have my Hard Rock Cafe glass from Munich, then a little box penguin paper owl that I made, and my Winnie the Pooh crystal figure. So yes, I'll start with our sequels. So first here we have City of Ashes and City of Glass by Cassandra Clare. It's the second and third book in the Model Instrument series. Bloodstorm by Rhiannon Hart. This is the sequel to Bloodsong, which I read and reviewed on this channel, as well as included Bloodsong in my top 12 of 2012. Then we have The Iron Daughter and The Iron Queen by Julie Kagawa. This is the second and third book in the Iron Fae series. Next we have Crescendo by Becca Fitzpatrick, the sequel to Hush Hush. The Evolution of Maradiah, which is the sequel to The Unbecoming of Maradiah. A Million Suns by Beth Rephis, which is the sequel to Across the Universe. And lastly, Rapture by Lauren Kate. This is the fourth book in the Fallen series. Okay, so now we're on to the top half of the back part of the shelf, and before I get to these ones, there's just a couple up here which I'll show you. We have A Clockwork Orange by Anthony Burgess, the one that I have started to read and decided to give up on because just, yeah. Then there's also Wicked by Gregory Maguire. Okay, now on to these ones. We have Supernatural 1 Year Gone by Rachel Dessertine, Little Women by Louisa Elm Alcott, The Dark Hills Divide by Patrick Carman, and The 10th City by Patrick Carman. This is actually the third book in the series, and The Dark Hills Divide is the first book, but I don't have the second. The House at Pooh Corner by A.A. Milne, Alice in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll, and 173 of the Nancy Drew little books or something by Carolyn Keene, Lorna Loon by R.D. Blackmore, Out of the Planet and Perelandra by C.S. Lewis, The Book of Dead Days by Marcus Sedgwick, The Amulet of Samarkand by Jonathan Stroud, oops, The Secrets of the Lazarus Club by Tony Pollard, Triskelion by Will Peterson, and The Golem's Eye by Jonathan Stroud. Then we have The Sorceress by Michael Scott, The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova, Maximum Ride, The Angel Experiment by James Patterson, Bridget Jones's Diary by Helen Fielding, The Boy in the Striped Pyjamas by John Boyne, The 13th Tale by Diane Setterfield, The Cry of the Ice Mark by Stuart Hill, Blackberry Wine by Joanne Harris, and this one is Fire Song by William Nicholson. So now onto the bottom half of this shelf, we have The Wind in the Willows by Kenneth Grahame, Ink Death by Cornelia Funk, The Dragon's Eye by Dugald A. Steer, Artemis Fowl, The Opal Deception by Ian Colfer, The Club by David Williamson, The Necromancer by Michael Scott, The Warlock by Michael Scott, The Illustrated Shakespeare. This is the one that I used in my major work, so there are actually 4 pages missing right in the middle, but yeah, that's okay. Then we have The Animal Farm in 1984 by George Orwell, and The Great Gatsby and The Last Tycoon by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Continuing on, we have The Magician by Michael Scott, Fairest by Gail Carson Levine, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn by Mark Twain, The Alchemist by Michael Scott, The Chronicles of Narnia by C.S. Lewis, The Devil's Playground by Stav Sherez, and lastly A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. So this here is my red shelf, and as you can see it is colour coordinated to all the novels, and then the ones down the bottom, the bigger books that don't really fit anywhere else, they're just kind of in height order. But yes, so I'm going to start with the top shelf. Okay, so we're starting off this shelf with kind of the dark greys and then moving on into whites. And we got a cute little owl here. So first we have Velveteen by Daniel Marks, then Ariel by Sylvia Plath, Birthday Letters by Ted Hughes, Forgotten by Kat Patrick, Anna Dressed in Blood by Kendare Blake, Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick, The Loved One by Evelyn Waugh, Afterlife by Claudia Gray, Book 4 in the Ranger's Apprentice series by John Flanagan. This is Oakleaf Bearers, Blood Red Road by Moira Young, What's Left of Me by Kat Zhang, Shiver by Maggie Stiefvater, The Lover's Dictionary by David Levithan, Stolen by Lucy Christopher, Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas, and The Wayward Tide by Alison Macleod. And now with this one we're starting to see some yellows, then oranges and red. The Perks of Being a Wallflower by Stephen Chbosky, City of Bones by Cassandra Clare, Waiting for Godot by Samuel Beckett, Book 2 in the Ranger's Apprentice series, this is The Burning Bridge, The Fire Eternal by Krista Lacey, the name of this book is Secret by Pseudonymous Bosch, Uglies by Scott Westerfeld, One Day by David Nichols, Firestar by Krista Lacey, 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone by J.K. Rowling, Impulse by Ellen Hopkins, and Paper Towns by John Green. This one should actually be on my January TBR pile because I'm participating in the CRAY Club book club. So Yes, that's going to be exciting, and if you want to know more information about it, I will leave the link with all the details about the book club in the description box below. Okay, so this here continues on with the reds, and it's kind of going into the darker reds, then some pinky ones here. But we have Catch 22 by Joseph Heller, Generation Dead by Daniel Waters, Sisters Red by Jackson Pierce, Noughts and Crosses by Mallory Blackman, Evernight by Claudia Gray, Inkheart by Cornelia Funk, Leviathan by Scott Westerfeld, Peter Pan by Geraldine McCaughrean. Yep, that happened. Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, Dirty Magic by Carol Hughes, Incarceron by Catherine Fisher, The Book of Lies by James Maloney, The Scorch Trials by James Dashner, and TTYL by Lauren Miracle. Continuing with the pinks, then the purples, From Light to Dark. We have book 7 in the Ranger's Apprentice series, Eraq's Ransom, Shadow Kiss by Rochelle Mead, Nightshade by Andrea Kramer, Incarnate by Jodie Meadows, Across the Universe by Beth Rebus, The Fire Within by Krista Lacey, Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban by J.K. Rowling, Stargazer by Claudia Gray, Prom Nights from Hell by various authors, Septimus Heap series Magic by Angie Sage, Wither by Lauren Stefano, and Awake by Lisa McMahon. Here is another gorgeous little owl, but we're moving from kind of the really dark purples into the dark blues and then continuing lighter. So we have Hourglass by Myra McIntyre, Elixir by Hilary Duff, Under the Never Sky by Veronica Rossi, Frostbite by Rochelle Mead, Piratica by Tanith Lee, Hamlet and Othello by Shakespeare, Fracture by Megan Miranda, Book 5 in the Ranger's Apprentice series by John Flanagan, which is The Sorcerer in the North, Inkspell by Cornelia Funk, The Dead of Night by John Marsden, which is the second book in the series of whatever it is, and A Game of Thrones by George R. R. Martin, Cloudword by David Cunningham, and Icefire by Chris DeLacy. So from this half we're continuing going into the lighter blues and light greens down to the dark greens, and we have Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling, Book 3 in the Ranger's Apprentice series by John Flanagan, and it's The Icebound Land, The Fault in Our Stars by John Green, The Iron King by Julie Kagawa, Beauty Queens by Luba Bray, The Catastrophic History of You and Me, The Notebook by Nicholas Sparks, the 11th book in a series of unfortunate events, which is The Grim Grotto, Delirium by Lauren Oliver, Book 1 in the Ranger's Apprentice series, The Ruins of Gorlan, The Selected Prose and Poetry of Shelley, The Maze Runner by James Dashner, Born Wicked by Jessica Spotswood, and lastly, Blood Promise by Rochelle Mead. Now for this shelf we have the really dark colours. There's kind of a few dark greenish colours, then browns and stuff. And this here is a little diary thing that my friend made for me for my birthday. And it is The Adventures of Kaz, and it's just got like photos. Yes, I do not have that hair, but yeah. Lots of lovely photos and everything. It's the cutest thing ever. The Book Thief by Marcus Zuzak, Room by Emma Donoghue, The Time Traveller's Wife by Audrey Nefeniger, The Goddess Test by Amy Carter, Blood Song by Rhiannon Hart, Spiritbound by Rochelle Mead, Romulus My Father by Raymond Gator, Living Dead Girl by Elizabeth  The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Night Time by Mark Haddon, The Forest of Hands and Teeth by Carrie Ryan, Madigan's Quest by Margaret Mahy, and The Spook's Apprentice by Joseph Delaney. And then continuing on, we are just going into like the blacks now. We have Another Little Owl here as well. Then we have A Monster Calls by Patrick Ness, Cinder by Marissa Meyer. Sorry about the glare. Alana the First Adventure by Tamora Pierce. Then In the Hands of the Goddess by Tamora Pierce. This is the second book. Then the third is The Woman Who Rides Like a Man. The fourth is The Lioness Rampant, and that's all the Song of the Lioness series. Then The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. And moving on to my Stephenie Meyer books, we have The Host by Stephenie Meyer. And then I'm sure you all know these ones: Twilight, New Moon, Eclipse, A Short Second Life of Britannia, and Breaking Dawn. We are now up to the very last shelf of the regular novel-y books, I suppose. And we have Kiss of Life by Daniel Waters, But I Love Him by Amanda Grace, The Unbecoming of Mara Dyer by Michelle Hodkin, Shadowland by Alison Noel. Then we have Night Star by Alison Noel and Everlasting, which are the last three in the Immortal series. The Last Sacrifice by Rochelle Mead. Crank by Ellen Hopkins. Marked by PC and Kristen Cast. Fallen, Torment, and Passion by Lauren Kate, the first three in the Fallen series. And then moving on to our very last books here, we have Looking for Alaska by John Green, Far from the War by Jeffrey David Payne. Then we have Selected Poems of William Wordsworth, Dracula by Bram Stoker, Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, and Kathy's book by I have no idea who, Stuart Wiseman / Brigg. Okay, so these ones here are just the massive books that don't really fit anywhere else. So we have Disney's Classic Treasury Volume 1. This School of Home Science thingamabobby, it's vegetarian. Then more veggie food, more vegetarian cookbooks. The Complete Tales of Beatrix Potter. Another vegetarian cookbook, The Encyclopedia of Immaturity, Girl Stuff by Kaz Cook, and lastly Slur. And then this last one, which doesn't actually fit upright, is my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful page to screen. Yay! So this shelf here is right above my bed, and basically I put my TBR books for the month right here, and then these ones are my absolute favourite books. We have The Hunger Games, Catching Fire and Mockingjay by Suzanne Collins, Snow White and Alice in Wonderland. These are the can't remember who illustrated them. Oh, the Camille Rose Garcia illustrated books. Then we have Divergent and Insurgent by Veronica Roth, and Anna and the French Kiss and Lola and the Boy Next Door by Stephanie Perkins. And of course I'll also just show you my currently reading, it's not really a shelf, it's actually in my drawers, but yeah, I keep my Kindle in here, as well as my currently reading books, which is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien and Graceling by Kristen Cashore. And those are my shelves, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to leave a comment. Anyway, I will see you guys later with my book review of What's Left of Me by Kat Zhang. So look forward to that, and yeah, until then,